Hey everybody, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, Disembodied Hands, Quinty, Disembodied Beard, John. Wait, I'm hearing the clicky feet. Hi, clicky feet. Would you like to come up and say hello? Okay, clicky feet says, hi everybody. Oh, hello. Is it a good morning? Is it a better morning than it was last night? Yeah, it's a good girl. Who's my good girl? Yeah, that's my good girl. Yes, you are. Kiki says, hi, everybody. I've decided to put in an appearance. Yes, very shy about the camera. But thanks, Mom. Thanks for the pettins. Thanks for the pettins. I promise not to try to eat dry paint under your desk. Okay, I totally lied. Yeah, you're a good girl. All right. Sweet. We're here. Yes, the Kiki decided to show up. Good girl. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she's like, she had a little bit of a blowout last night, so she must have eaten something. Or maybe it's like, she's been saving up her bully sticks, so like, I'll give her a bully stick, and it'll sit there. It'll sit there for a day and a half, until she has like, but I won't see it, so I'll give her another bully stick the next day, and then finally on the third day, she'll like eat 2.5 of them and have a blowout. Silly dog. Ridiculous dog! Not that that has anything in common with us humans, hoarding chocolate or coffee or anything. You know who you are. I know who I am. Quinty, allergies. The one thing I remembered or realized I forgot this morning was that I don't have a Kleenex box on my desk. So I had to run and get one. And it would have been on earlier, except that we are on the new computer today, folks. The new shiny computer. I forgot to put starting soon on my starting soon screen. So I had to do that really quick this morning. But we tested it. We secret tested it yesterday, and we did find an issue, and then we fixed it. So I have high hopes that this will fix the... it won't fix Twitch. Let's be clear. It will not fix Twitch. But it will fix whatever may have been on my end with my computer. So, I mean, we changed the internet. We changed my computer. So now the only thing that could be remaining that could be crappy could be Mountain View's general internet infrastructure. Totally possible. Or Twitch. Yes, a secret test that no one saw. But yeah, so the new computer came, the new computer is set up. It is actually, as far as its settings, its specs go, it is actually superior to my old computer in every way. Storage, RAM, processor, and it's slightly smaller, but I like that. Less of a footprint on my desk. I feel like I have more room. And yeah, it was $600. So I don't know. Based on my experience here, I don't know that I will ever buy a new computer again unless I need a gaming system. But I do little enough gaming that I'm like, well, But yeah, because you can get some really nice refurbished stuff out there, it turns out. And by the time I think about buying a new gaming system, it'll probably be the next generation up. I don't even know what I have on my gaming system right now, but it's like low end. It's definitely low end. Oh, you missed the Kiki, Turgeon. I'm on the new computer this morning, Turgeon. We have everything. That's why I don't have shiny little blue energy around my my face and screen and stuff. Is that so the one thing I gotta say, and I told this to the people who didn't see our test stream yesterday, but the wonderful thing about Streamlabs OBS, which is the software that we use to actually run the stream and connect up, is that when I put it on this computer, I signed into it with my Twitch, and it actually imported all of my stuff, almost 100% of my stuff. So I actually did not have to set up new scenes. I did not have to like set up my mic, my camera, the only thing it didn't recognize dock cam right away, so I had to like set that up. And it didn't import my logo, but it imported the Toolbox intro and the Toolbox logos. So maybe Tristoma. It depends how she's feeling. Oh, your Wi-Fi adapter has not arrived. Oh no, Quindy. Oh no. You said it would probably be there Tuesday. Is that still the forecast? I need to get paints out. What do I want to do with your generator? Here. Yeah. 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 Uh-oh. Pardon me while I grab the skin tones that I removed from my desk earlier while I was cleaning. I hope I know where I put them. Oh, I put them in the other room. 1 second. Put my skin tones in the other room because I was painting, putting the skin tone base coat on that Moonlight Minis model. I started working on my dragon bust more around the face last night. Wife adapter. Oh no. That is pretty awesome. That is a pretty awesome. I did see it, but I didn't call Quindy out on her typo because it seemed cruel. It seemed cruel. But here's what I did this weekend. Wait, let's get in focus. Shh. Don't tell Reaper it's not a Reaper Mini. Shh. So I started getting more details around the mouth and the face, and I tested out putting more of a greenish color on the upward facing crystals, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep it. I actually think I might just do it. So this is a 3D print dragon bust that I was working more on it last night, so thought I would show you all the progress. Yeah, I'm not sold on the green. I was thinking that I wanted a lighter greener highlight on the head scales, on the crystals, but I think I went too green. So I'm going to actually repaint these tonight. It went too green and it wasn't light enough. Yes, teefies. So I'm going to rework that a bit. All right, so we've got our happy little witch here. I'm still thinking, I think I will blacken her hair with a really dark... Where is my mahogany brown? Yeah, there. I want it to be really dark red. And if you want it really red, but you still want it to be a redhead. Probably not on the dragon bust Slayer. It depends. I mean, I'm working on Owlbear right now, and everybody really likes Owlbear. Owlbear is actually getting me a lot of views on Twitch right now. So we worked on Owlbear. We got more of his blue blocked in. So now I can start bringing up the green all over with the feathers. So that's our next project for Mr. Owlbear. But I am enjoying Owlbear, and I did mention working on one of Jason's giant puggle that he gave me at ReaperCon when we were done with the Owlbear. The dragon is my own project. Like, there's definitely you need to have a divide, Slayer, if you are me and you make your living with miniatures as well as having a hobby of miniatures. You do have to draw some lines between what you keep for yourself for fun and what you do for money. Because it's very easy to, like, when you cross that line, to lose enthusiasm for a project. So the likely answer on that dragon is no. However, I've already mentioned that I will be using the gemstones on him, the crystals, as a crystal painting tutorial for my Patreon, probably next month. Unless I've got something better that rears its head and says, do me instead. But there's no reason not. He's such a great model for how to paint crystals the same way I painted him on the Rock Troll that there's no reason not to do that. I'm going to block in a dark red hair on her. I'm just going to use mahogany brown. It has a very, very heavy load of red pigment in it. You can see it. It's not really... I mean, it is still a reddish brown, but it's very firmly on the red side. Right, Big Chimpo. It took me a while to realize that I needed to preserve that part of my, like, hobby. Like... or I would burn out and not feel like it. It is to the point where I need to have even a separate desk for it. So I don't paint the dragon bust at this station. Like, during the pandemic, I only had one painting station, and that's when I noticed it. That's when I noticed that being at this desk feels like work. And so I didn't want to paint any personal stuff because I'd have to do it at this desk and it would feel like work. Because the place association is very strong in my brain. So some people don't have that. I definitely do. I definitely have a strong association. When I do something at a particular place day after day after day, that place becomes the place I do X. So when we bought the house, then we had a hobby, we made one room our hobby room, and I was able to make a second painting desk. And that became my fun desk. And I've taken great pains to keep it fun. There have been tiny points where there's been a little bit of crossover, but in general, that desk still feels like I'm doing fun things. So I'm going to block this red in so we can see how bad or good it is. It's going to clash a little bit with the purple until I bring it up more orangey with the highlights. But I wanted to see how it looks. Obviously, the color that would look best would be blonde because we're doing purples. However, that's an easy answer, and I just didn't really feel like I wanted it, so... Kiki, that's enough. Settle, please. Just stuff outside. Kiki's very barky this morning. Apologies. I don't know if somebody's doing something in the yard next door, because that totally sets her off. Because our yards are so close together that she can't tell that they're not in our yard. So if, like, the next door neighbor is having tree trimming or something... But yeah, so if you do that, if you do, like, say, have a side gig where you're doing miniatures or whatever, but you also do that same thing as for fun, make a point of changing up your setting. And if you can't change up the setting with moving, having a different desk or a different table or a different area, you could even do something as simple as switching the side of a desk that you're working on. That works. And it also works if you reset your area and make your area look different before you, before you're working on one thing or another. But setting up your space to cultivate that mindset is very useful in avoiding burnout. Having been burned out for a very long time at one point in my past, I've gotten very good at recognizing when I'm about to hit it and taking steps to try to back off or work around it for the next time once I've recovered. I'm actually dancing dangerously close to burnout right now, and it's general life burnout. Just too much on my plate for too long, which is why I'm stepping down from the dog board, the dog club board this month or next month. Letting other people take over. And there may be other changes in my future as well, depending on how different things go. I already have taken steps to kind of simplify some things, so... But yeah, when you're doing as many things as I do, oh, I actually did that with my last one. Did Agent Marvel get shots? A painting partner. Yep. That makes sense, I cry. Yeah, especially if you're a very people person. Like, I'm more of a loner type, so for me... I tend to be that I naturally gravitate toward working alone, but a lot of people aren't like that. And that's where, I have a hard time, like, figuring out how to help those people life hack sometimes because I'm such a loner, because I'm a lone executor. I very much like being responsible for me and not for anybody else. And I self-execute pretty well. I motivate. I have enough tricks to motivate myself at this point and to keep on track. Chalky. Are you don't use a light glaze. What color are you using to glaze? When you first start glazing, light glazes are much harder than medium or dark glazes. And essentially the chalkiness is going to be when you're using a color that has a lot of white in it and you're trying to force it. I do not use a light glaze unless I have built it with pure white. Pink skin tone, mid pink, ruddy, yeah. But how mid? I mean, and what paint line, I guess, is my next question, resin, because some paint lines are really good for glazing and others will fight you. Is it Reaper or is it not? I guess is the question, because Reaper was different. Cuttlefish, yeah, I have no idea. All I can tell you is that if you're working with a lighter paint that has white in it, that's where the chalkiness comes from. So what you usually want to do is you want to drop down to a much more mid-range paint and do a real thin glaze of that. It's not going to darken your skin tone as much as you think, but it will take the chalkiness right out. At most with, like, usually I'll do it in one glaze for me. If I had a chalky model, I could show you, but I like usually can avoid it. A lot of paint lines out there are not really built for glazing, but even ones that are, you can get that chalkiness issue if you've got, and it's usually in my experience, it's a paint line that it's a color that has been built with less white, that's still a light color, but it's been built with overall less white pigment. For some reason, that's why I build all my light glazes with pure white, because it's huge. It's got a huge load of titanium white pigment in it. And I find that with the more pigmented whites, I have fewer issues with that. Yeah, it's Creature Caster paint line. Yeah. Yeah, and their paints tend to separate and shift a bit. Like, I did notice a lot of color shift when I tested their paint line the first time, especially with the reds. So, there's no way of knowing how much what their pigment percentage is or anything like that. If you have a different line, you might try that. Or if you are going to work with Cuttlefish, what I'd say is mix yourself something that's more dark, that's got a lot less white in it. Something like this. Maybe like a sienna color, like a terracotta color almost. Where you've got very little white. Because it's the white pigment that will mess with you. So essentially, if you can do something that looks like a terracotta pot color, especially if you're using a ruddy or pinky one, that'll be a pretty good color to use. Then thin it way, 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 way down and glaze over the top of your chalkiness, and you should wipe it right out. Then just put your reapply your highest highlights. Everything else should be fine. Oh, they have specific glazes? Yeah. And see, seem to work fine in darker colors. What did I just say? The glazes will work. Any line can glaze with a mid to dark color. Like, any line. Because darker colors are naturally more translucent. Even when you're using a high density, like some high density pigments, like our black, okay, not. Reaper's black is really, really high density pigment, and it does not glaze well, even though it is a dark technically. But like our dark blues, dark greens, dark purples, they tend to glaze really well, and that's the same with anything. I am not familiar with Reaper Tawny, but essentially you need something, if you can see how mid this is, it is not a light color at all. It is on the grayscale. Do you have a color wheel? I almost knocked over my entire cup, and that would be bad. On the grayscale, 1 second. Okay, there's the color. Grayscale. Grayscale coming in. I think it's a 4. Yeah, 3 is too dark. And 5 is too light. It's a value 4. See how that kind of disappears? See how the edge kind of disappears against the color? Whereas if you move this one over, you can see that it's much lighter than the color. And you move this one over, and you can see that it is significantly darker than the color. So it's a value 4. I would go for a value 4. At most a value 5. Nothing lighter. Got to get a grayscale. Got to get a color wheel. Honestly, with this sort of thing, really useful, right? Yeah, I would go with this. Because remember, when you thin it, resin, when you thin any acrylic, it usually dries lighter than it is. So even though we're starting with a dark color, when you thin it down for that glaze and you put it on, it's really not going to change the surface as much as you think. It's going to give you a richer color, which usually you want a little. It never hurts, right? And then after the glaze, let it dry. Determine if you need another one to knock out the chalky, or maybe you just need to spot apply it in a couple places. But then take your highest highlight with the layering or whatever you're doing and reapply just that, really thinned down. Remember, because you don't want to have to smooth it again. Really thin. Remember, with Reaper Pure White, I tend to go 2-to-1 water, or 2.5 water to 1 paint. So 5 drops of water to 2 drops of paint. Now that's excessive, and only Pure White is like that, but it gives you an idea. You should be putting a lot of water in that glaze, or in the layering, sorry, when you're trying to layer up light skin colors. I would say go 1 drop of paint to 2 drops of water and see what it looks like. Yeah, all right, well then, yeah, this is how you use the grayscale. This is why the grayscale is useful. So keep in mind when you are doing glaze to kill chalkiness, around a 4 to 5. I've been able to use Reaper Tan Skin for it, and I think Reaper Tan Skin is about a 4. Like, yeah. So there you go. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, chalkiness is just a fact of life if you're using a lighter glaze. And that's because of that white pigment. Because that white pigment is heavy and it fights. It gives you that foggy look, which is a chalky look. It's still possible to glaze with white, but I only ever use Reaper Pure White or a mix that I have created with Reaper Pure White. I've just found that it's the only white that stands up to it. Though I haven't tried the Chimera White for it. I'd be interested to do that. So the red doesn't look as bad as I feared. And I will be putting a little bit of green in here on the pumpkin top. Just a little tiny bit. I'm more and more going toward maybe... I'm just trying to figure out her colors at this point. I really, really am. I think I'm going to shade the skin. And I'm actually going to use the sienna to do it, mixed with tan skin. Because if I want something darker than Rosy Shadow, but in the same family, this is. The Shanti Sienna is. And it's a skin tone from Pathfinder. This is one of those colors. It is a terracotta color. It's a really good, if you need to replace redstone, the Shanti Sienna is a good starting point for redstone. I would maybe add a tiny bit of yellow ochre, or yellow oxide, but that's it. Yeah, we'll see how this red hair goes as I continue with the skin tones. It may be fine. It just is not, it's not real happy next to a purple because they're close. But the purple is a blue purple, so it's acceptable. We'll see how it goes. As I bring up the hair, we'll see if it continues to be okay. It should work. It shouldn't clash terribly. There are colors that would look a lot better, like I said. You could use blonde or black and it would look a lot better with that purple. Or even a dark brown and it would look a lot better with this purple. But I decided I wanted to go red with her, so... I'm going to do 4 drops, 3 drops of tan skin, 1 drop of the Shanti Sienna, just to see if I can, because the skin is just looking too light, and I feel like I need to push it down. I like to start dark, work light, as you guys recall with skin, so. And I've discovered that I don't know that I have another bottle of brown liner, which means I really need to order one. I've been going through a lot of it lately. So just that 1 drop of Shanti Sienna, it makes this looks a little pinker than it is on camera. I'm seeing it looking much more pink. It doesn't look that pink in person, but it's driven it more toward that rosy side and it's darkened it. Not as much as I want it to be though. So 1 more drop. No, because that's the color I really wanted on the model. So Pendrake, I say this a lot, I've said this in past color theory courses and stuff, and on handouts, when you are doing a model, the first thing you should ask yourself is, what is the one color I really want on this model? Like, pick out a color that you really, really want to use on the model. And the color we chose was the Icy Violet, which is why it got painted on first. So we will not compromise on that. Once you choose that color, that is your color. You work everything around it. And when you start compromising on that and trying to shift it is when you get into trouble. So If I shifted this mantle more toward blue, I could actually make it worse instead of better. Like, if I wanted it to be blue, then I should have started it blue. Should paint it. Instead of shifting it, you'd have to paint it over, in my opinion. You might get lucky, but that's just the thing. It's like, you have to start with one color somewhere. And it's best if you just figure out which color you're not willing to compromise on. Whether it's that this model has blonde hair, or this model is wearing icy violet because I love it, or moth green because I love it, or the kitty's going to be orange, so I need to plan around that because I really want to paint an orange kitty. You know, you need that one color as a starting point, because then everything else on the model will branch out from that choice. I'm going against that a little bit here with the red, just to see if I can make it work. And it's not undoable, mostly because so far it's pretty dark. And when I bring it up toward orange, it should work because orange and purple work together, right? But we'll see. It's kind of dicey until I see how it looks. Because the red itself is not a very good choice for this color. Yeah, red and blue-purple together, if one is dark and the other is light, it works. Here, the icy violet is lighter and this hair is darker, so it's not actively clashing, but to my eye, it's still not the best choice. Kiki, why are you borking? Yeah? Why are you borking? What's the borks? It's all fine. I'm not even hearing what you're hearing. Yeah, big guard dog, you can stand down. I know, you're very concerned. Kiki is very concerned. I am not one boot, so I will not steal the purple kitty. But, anyway. But yeah, I mean, so this is like, it's not an instant deal breaker. It's just something I need to keep an eye on. And I'm not going to shift my violet. So, all right, face. I'm going to actually redo the skin a little bit here. Just going to pop it a little darker, a little warmer, a little more saturated. I'll have to line again because I wiped out my lining there. But it's much pinker. Ah, see, and I don't mind orange and purple, obviously, because we've done a model with orange and purple. But this is where you need to separate the colors you like together, Agent Marvel, versus the colors that look good together. It's not always the same thing. And it depends on how good your gut is at color theory and what goes together. So you may not like orange and purple together, but they work really well together. You're never going to get in trouble putting orange with purple in general, because the orange, purple, green, those colors just harmonize well together. That secondary color triad, you usually have no problems with that. Whereas, you know, a red and a blue purple, they're a little dicier because red and purple are next to each other on the color wheel. When you shift it blue, then you put them farther apart, so then they start to like each other a little bit better, like so they don't overtly say "nee" at you. And as I mentioned, if you further push them apart by making one dark and the other light, you're good. You're generally good. I mean, you can put green and teal next to each other if you make one dark and the other one light. They'll harmonize fine, but you have to have the contrast in there. My concern is here that this is, unless I also shade like really dark with like a black red and bring up her hair just a tiny bit, the hair is generally going to be a little lighter. And once it gets more toward the value of the blue purple, that's going to be harder to make it work unless I push it more orange. Yeah, so that's why Halloween colors are orange, purple, and green. We have finches instead of, I don't think, yeah, we've got big fat sparrows. The fat birds are giant sparrows here. But I haven't gotten any actual sparrows, I think. They've all been finches at the bird feeder here. So I'm going to paint over my skin tone. You can see how much more pink that looks. Again, it's much less pink than that in person. But we'll be using a tan skin to bring it up. So I'm just going to put this color on as a rosy undertone. And again, that also pulls that closer to the cloth, and that also kind of puts it in danger of clashing, but we're going to work with it. Right, exactly. Yeah, using the orange as brown leather, and that's fair. And that works fine because brown then is more of a neutral and works with almost everything. So I'm going to paint over a lot of what we did here just real quick. And then I am going to go and highlight it. And I'll highlight it with more of an orangey skin tone with the tan skin plus some Syrian sand probably. In other words, a yellowy off-white. And that will bring the skin back toward orange. It should make everything work. I mean, you could do all sorts of orange, purple, and olive green works. But yeah, now given I do want to bring up that, my whole start with one color that you're not going to compromise on thing is mostly a rule meant to save you from making like bad choices, like save you from trying to save things the wrong way. It's not a hard, and any rule, quote unquote, that I give you on this stream is totally just my own way of doing things, and it's not a hard and fast rule. Nothing in mini painting is hard and fast rule, no matter who tells it to you. Even if it's the best mini painter in the world, their process is going to be different than yours. So definitely listen to it and see if it works for you. But there definitely is like a trouble you can get into. So everything is looking very pink on camera now, but I swear it'll get better. There's a trouble you can get into where you just repaint something again and again and again. And you get stuck on that model and you don't learn anything and you just like get more and more frustrated. That's why I always have the one color I'm not willing to compromise on. Because I don't want to get stuck in that doom cycle. Like, at that point, I'm more likely to chuck the mini. Unless it's a super expensive mini. Then I'll reprime it. And start from zero. Because once you get colors in place, if you're not, like, really confident with your choices, and you don't know why something may or may not work, that's when you can get into trouble. But yeah, I mean, red, yellow, blue always work together. Green, orange, purple always work together. So we're going to go straight up back to tan skin now. And the tan skin, I wonder if they've let this shift because it seems lighter than it always has been. This bottle that I got. But tan skin is here. Maybe I'm just like used to working with darker skin tones. I'm going to put 2 drops in. I'm going to put some white. And we'll mix it up. And then I'm going to put a drop of this into it, just to make them work together better. Boop. So we'll make our first highlight that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, give us people who are afraid of deep water some cred there. All right. Let me push my palette back up here. Now we'll get this highlight color and see how it does. And we're going to keep that darker color in the shadows. Mostly I just had decided that I hadn't started with dark enough skin. There's an angry squirrel outside. You can hear it barking. Ooh, new quarterly contest figure has been announced. Super. What is it, Quindy? Just going to build up that color on the center of the leg here. Kind of going to get into this just a little bit more, and we'll build up another highlight. So I've got a little bit of a highlight on that leg. It's a lich. No, it's not a crow. It's actually an angry squirrel, crows. It's a very angry squirrel. So angry. Probably sees another squirrel on its territory or something. It's very grumbly. Let me get my Osirian sand out so that I can build another highlight. That is the noise that an angry squirrel makes. That kind of like staticky barking noise. No, we don't get many crows. Like, we get a lot of crows over in the park down the street, but I don't see many here in the like subdivision. We have a big field with trees all around it near our school down the block, and lots of crows over there. It's a Bob Rodolphi model. Time to paint lich. Time to paint purple. Purple seems to be traditional. It's like the D&D canon for liches. I have a lot of work to do today. Patreon. Trying to still rush to catch up on the Patreon by the end of this month. I should make it. I have all week. Morning, Daffodweir. So I've mixed up another highlight color for my skin. I'll bring that down. So that's my triad at this point. As mentioned, this is looking a little pinker than it actually is in person. Not sure why my camera is doing that, but it's decided that it wants to see that pink. It likes pink today. This computer likes pink. Like, it makes my fingers look really pink too. Maybe I'll have to adjust its levels, but that won't help you guys. It'll just help me. So a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to continue working it in. And there's a vertical highlight on the leg because it's a cylinder. But yes, I have 2 paint along videos and the light red hair PDF. I'm finishing the light red hair PDF this today. I did work in progress pics and examples on Friday. So I've got all my photos, so now I just have to sit down and write it and edit it. I've got part of it done. And then the paint alongs, which are actually easier just because I always know what my topic is beforehand. I don't have to search for it. Just a little bit of light there to bring out that leg a little bit. There's a lot in front of this leg, so we don't want a ton of highlight back there, but just a little bit can help to bring it out. Nice, Chris. Yeah, they use that model for Vecna on Stranger Things. There we go. Nice. D&D is so freaking mainstream now. It's just crazy. We're talking about it at Right Club this weekend. when I went to my writers club, because we have a sister writing group because the person who started our Mountain View writing group moved to Denver and then and started up a new writing group in Denver, and they meet in their local D&D themed bar, tavern, whatever you want to call it. I forget the name of it. It's not a D20. It's a different one. But it's just like the fact that that in major cities, and even in non-major cities, but ones that just have colleges, like these are definitely a thing. The gaming tavern is a thing, guys. We have lived to see this. Like, think about like 30 years ago. This would never have happened. Not ever. Like, when I was a kid, I was talking to a different writer, and she's like, yeah, like, I had to hide the fact that I played D&D when I was in school. I'm like, yep. So that's where their writers group meets in Denver. I'm sad that I probably won't be able to go. I will be in Denver for the dog show, but they, in November, but they meet up north, and I'm going to be way south. So I don't know that I'm going to scarper up there, especially because it means abandoning the dog people, much as that tempts me. So doing a little bit of highlighting back here. On little areas like hands, 3 levels I find is usually okay. I try to get the tendons on the back of the hand and the knuckles here. And I will get all of the top of the hand where the light is falling, including the top of the first finger. And then usually that's enough to make it stand out. You can always figure out if you want to push it a little bit more. And I'll usually get the tips of the fingers. Again, just to make them stand out against the lining that much better. And I like this skin tone a lot better, so we will rock this. Yeah, I don't know. Ed liked the funny colors. He liked Drown Nipple Pink and stuff like that. I don't think Ed had a favorite color otherwise. But Dave might know. I mean, red and black obviously were Ed's favorite car colors. And Reaper's colors were red and black, so. Dave would actually be the one to ask that, because I mean, but he's probably going to tell you red and black. I mean, that's what they did for the company colors, and that's what that's what Ed had his car, and I would think that that's pretty. As far as specifics, it probably doesn't matter. Because although Ed used MSP, he didn't paint all that much, so it's not like he was painting all the time like he was, back in his earlier days. He was more of a hobbyist. When he did paint something for ReaperCon, it was usually just like the only thing he'd painted in a year. Just because he hadn't done it in a long time. So I don't know that he had a favorite. He probably had his favorite colors, probably red and black, right? More than he had a favorite MSP color. Oh, got a blorf back here. Gotta touch that up with the shadow. Yeah, I mean, he liked the name of it. I don't know if he liked the color, though, Crows. That's the thing. You'd be, if you're really going to do an Ed tribute, I think red and black. I think blood red, and you could use nightmare black or regular black. Nightmare Black if you wanted it more blue. But I mean, he did name Draw Nipple Pink. He wrote it up on my board. But I don't know that he liked the color that came out of it. So just being full disclosure there. Raven Feather, yeah, it's a blue-black. Blue-black metallic for the most part. Done differently than some of our other blue-black metallics. We'll be painting it out here on stream too. I'll have to figure out what I want to do with it. The Ed Necromancer. As we get closer to October, I'll start switching. We should be done with a couple figures by then. Oh, I guess it's coming up fast. It's the end of this week, so I might have to swap earlier than intended to go all Halloween-y for this month. And then we'll go back. I'm bringing my highlights not up on the brow because she's got that brim overshading her face. I will get the cheekbones though. And I need to get those eyes looking like something other than black pits. So I'll get the eye color out shortly. So I started a new sort of to-do list, much as I have a normal day-to-day to-do list, but to keep track of big things in the big areas of my life, like health appointments I need to make and stuff. So I took a piece of Bristol, normal paper-sized piece of cardstock, and I divided it into a grid, and in each grid I wrote like an area of my life, like writing, Patreon, health, dog stuff, things like that. And then I used my sticky notes and I wrote a single task on each sticky note, and I piled up the sticky notes in each section in the order of priority, so that I only can see one thing, so I don't feel overwhelmed. But I won't forget anything, right? I just need to keep making progress on the grid. It was like the only way I could think of to write down all the crap that I need to do without getting completely overwhelmed by this huge long list. Plus, it's fun because sticky notes and cardstock and markers. Organizing your life does, using fun stuff to do it does take some of the sting out. Like organizing your life as an adult, but doing it like a little kid would do it. So that's my newest strategy, to-do strategy. All right, so that face is starting to come up. I'm going to grab, because the eyes are in shadow, we're even more going to lean on a bone color to paint them rather than, and a grayed out bone color to paint them rather than using white. So we're going to reach for polished bone, I think, which is a light gray. Light gray with a bit of brown in it. That might even be too much, but we'll see. For bigger eyes, weathered stone is a good color, 9087. You want kind of a yellowed gray for eyeballs, unless they're really tiny, like Tom Meyer eyeballs for Dark Sword. I tend to actually violate that rule and go with pure white because they're so small. Just trying to get a little bit of the upper part of each of these done. Okay. All right, now I can fill in the sockets. They're big eyes. Gonna do a 4 to 1 on this. 4 drops of paint, 1 drop of water. New computer wants to spam me with advertisements from Microsoft. No. Bad computer. All right. Well, I'm very reassured by the fact that we have not had an F, guys. I'm invoking the universe right now. Yeah, I hate him too, Quindy. So we want to get that little eyeball in there. And I would say it's about this, maybe about 2 times the size of her. I don't know if she's in the case or if she's. I'd snag her, but you've expired, Fedric. Let me just check. It might be smaller than that. I think I've got my unpainted one. 1 second. Hey, Bubba. You always okay? Oh, well, we're not done yet. Mama's just grabbing something. Well, I'm trying to grab something. Where did I put it? I'm trying to get pictures of her, Papa, but I'm not sure where he put her. Yeah, there. I have mine. I have mine unpainted. He bought me one when he bought one for himself. But I'm going to paint mine up like a goth girl. And she's going to have a Cure Disintegration concert t-shirt. So this is from Mark Maskelin's Miniatures. If you all want to buy one. Bottle. Arm. There she is. Body. Okay, maybe she's bigger. Yeah, she's bigger. I thought she was like... You love her already, yeah. Yeah, I had to. If it was supposed to be me in college, like, it's all The Cure. Robert Smith's disembodied head floating on the concert t-shirt. That's what I want. Okay, so she's quite large. So next to a Reaper 28, she's this big. So yeah, actually about the height of two witches, she just looks so much bigger. You know. David, by the way, put up an article on how he painted this. Specifically talking a lot about the denim texture, but he also talks a bit about how he did the freehand. On his version. And it's on Light Miniatures. So there we go. But yeah, she's a great. I mean, you could absolutely goth her out, or you could make her go country. You could do any. Like, she's obviously at a concert, and it's cool. You haven't decided. I'm totally doing Cure Disintegration. I looked at some other bands. I mean, Echo and the Bunnymen might have a good one too, but you know, it's like looking at the album covers for those. I think that Disintegration is my choice. But yeah, there you go. So if you guys want to go over there and look at it's his blog, I think it's the first thing that comes up. But if you want to know how he painted his with the crazy freehand and the denim texture, you can go over to David's website. My love, my hubby. I'm gonna put mine away. She is not going to be painted anytime soon. It's a cool model, though. He did this because he had been using Lumberjack for his classes for a few years, and he was sick of it. He wanted something new, so he sculpted this based on his girlfriend. because it gave a lot more opportunities for teaching than Lumberjack. It doesn't have the metal, but usually when you're taking a class with Mark, you're probably looking for textures anyway, leather and cloth. And so he does a good job at doing skin stuff too. Okay, let's get the other eyeball in now that we've been totally distracted. Distractions are the best. Yeah, so she's only as tall as two witches, but she looks bigger because she's a larger scale. Much wider. Takes up more space. I got Kiki, woke Kiki up, and now she's like, but wait, I thought it was that time. David mostly went looking for, as he mentions in the article, he was mostly just looking for a concert t-shirt that he thought would reproduce well. Oh, yeah. Googlers beware. Thought about Depeche Mode, but I've never been a big Depressed Mood fan. Like, I like some of their songs, but... And I totally blorfed up that one eyeball, so I'm going to mix up some walnut real quick to correct my lining. But yeah, so he happened across that Taylor Swift Eras concert t-shirt, and that was perfect. He was not previously a Taylor Swift fan, but when we were talking about the article yesterday when we were out throwing the frisbee for Papa, he had the back door here open and he had his music playing, and I'm like, but I see you haven't stopped listening to Taylor Swift. Neil's like, oh. Honestly, Dungeons and Dragons is so mainstream now. Twisted Doma, I usually tell them it's the little figures of, like knights and dragons and wizards that people used to play Dungeons and Dragons. Except that, of course, yeah, then from there it all branches out and there's some bigger stuff as the bust. But a short term, like these days, if I say Dungeons and Dragons, like, I can't remember the last time somebody looked at me blankly and went, what? Oh yeah, there's all sorts of crazy album covers out there. But remember that if it's too complex, if you can't simplify it enough, it won't translate. You've got a lot of room on that bust, but there are limits. The Taylor one works because it's a grid. Like, it's easy to grid out. Oh, sorry, moved too far. Yeah, this color is pretty good for the eyes. It you can see them, but it doesn't make them look unnatural. But yeah, there's so many different iconic album covers and t-shirts out there. Yeah, it's a cool figure and something that nobody had done previously, so it's cool that Mark did it. I kind of hope we see a bit more like modern contemporary miniature stuff in the future, busts particular. And not so much for gaming models. It doesn't so much make sense unless you're running a contempt game, but I'd like to see more bust subjects that were... Maybe even, urban fantasy would be cool. There we go. I had to block in that. I think we're good. She's got her eyes in there. We can see them. Yeah. Yeah, I remember I know Joy Division. I was into alternative rock. I was watching 120 Minutes back in high school. I know Joy Division. Oh, let's see here. I need to mix up a lip color for her. I want to use the existing mahogany red or mahogany brown, but I also want to add a little red and then add that to the skin tone. Yeah. You got it, Trash. That would be a one definition of urban fantasy. So I just grabbed violet red because I just need a mid red, to make a lip color. I kind of want to, maybe we'll goth out her lips a little bit. We'll see how they look. So essentially I'm going to grab some of this brown, some of this red, and some of the skin tone and mix up a dark red. And this looks way bright on my screen, but it's actually kind of a dark brownish red pink. I'm going to try starting with that. Yeah, I need to adjust my computer's color. For sure, it's bugging me. Like, it managed to get the icy violet perfect. But anything with red in it, it's like totally over accentuating the red. So I need to adjust my red gamma. I mean, Dark Side of Me, there's lots of iconic t-shirts, right? But I want to do something from my high school, right? Not, Pink Floyd is a little older than me, though I certainly did watch The Wall when I was in college, but I was never a huge Pink Floyd fan. They were too depressing. I say that as a fan of The Cure. I think Pink Floyd was just too realistically depressing. Also, just depressing in a way that did not at all like speak to my personal sense of ennui. Like, but yeah, there's a lot of iconic t-shirts that would be easier to do. Dark Side of the Moon is a very simple one to do. So I've got her mouth blocked in, but I need to highlight it. That's a bit. I decided to go dark with her lips because she has such a wide mouth. So I kind of wanted to minimize it a little bit that way. So what I'm going to do also, once I've got this highlight tamed, is I'm going to take my skin tone and I'm going to narrow in that line that I used to line the lower lip. That sounds familiar, Crowley, but I don't know. My brain goes, Dark Side of Oz is familiar, but at the same time I don't know that I ever saw it. Yeah, the Depeche Mode rose. Yeah, that's why when I mentioned thinking about using the Depeche Mode one. REM green wouldn't be bad either. It's got the world, but you can simplify the world behind the REM. Oh, really? That's pretty funny, Crowley. It's weird when movies like that sync up. Trying to get some highlights in on that mouth a bit without losing color can be really hard. Yeah, Angry Bird shirt. Yeah, that makes sense. That's funny. So I've trimmed down that lower lip line a bit, but I've lost my upper lip line. There we go. Then I can take my walnut and put some pupils in there. Again, try to get an angle that's comfortable for you when you're doing a little detail work. It can be hard in small eyes to keep from the cat eye effect, so sometimes I'll come in from the side as well. Try to round out the pupil a little. I gotta let them dry in order to see if I managed it. I do want to trim down this brow a little bit. I got a little bit dark with it. That one already is. The hat makes it very difficult to do good eyes on this figure. But on the plus side, if you don't get your eyes right, people won't